Jalen Rose. I am David Jacoby. We are Jalen Jacoby. What is it that we do?
We give the people what they want.
James Harden was at practice and is scheduled to be playing in a game for the Rockets in just hours, but you don't know we're not starting there. We had the game of the year last night on Monday Night Football, a back and forth affair between division rivals, Browns and Ravens, and this is what happened at the end. The Browns, a little too soft in their defense, watched as Lamar Jackson led them down, and then that was the kick that won the game. Jalen, big win for the Ravens to stay alive in the playoffs. What did you think about the MVP's performance last night?
See, record-wise, you go into this game and feel like Cleveland has the better record. This is their chance to get over the hump and show that they can play with the Ravens, show that they can play with the Steelers. I thought Baltimore would win, and the final drive said a lot. Lamar returns, it's 4th and 5. He gets a chance to hit his best target in his security blanket, Andrews, a couple of times. The best kicker in the NFL, Tucker, makes another 50-plus yard field goal.
Easy.
That guy's a weapon as a kicker. He's like a franchise quarterback, the way he changes games late as a kicker. But that really shows that there's levels to this, and the Cleveland Browns still haven't got there just yet.
There is the play you're discussing, the 4th and 5, when he comes back out from the locker room and they score that. Hollywood Brown held on to that one. He had some trouble with drops earlier in the game, but really, Lamar Jackson didn't move the ball that much through the air. Only 11 completions on the game, but what is it about what he can do with his legs that just keeps defenses on their toes?
See, he's a dual threat in Jacoby. Like I said, the way football looked on Friday night in high school, the way it looks on Saturday in college, now looks like that on Sunday. You see Taysom Hill running a version of this, Kyler Murray. I can go on and on. Jalen Hurts in his first victory. Cam Newton has done it different times of the game, different periods of the season. And so when you have a guy like Lamar, who's the reigning MVP, he's also able to not only keep you in the game running the ball, but then late we showed how he can win with his arm as well.
Absolutely. And he only had 11 completions, and it says 11 for 17, but there were more pass plays that were called, but he would just invent and get first downs and get yardage and really looked good last night. But Jalen, we have to talk about his visit to the locker room, because that's the real big takeaway from this game. We can talk about the AFC playoff picture later, but here he is going to the locker room with cramps, quote-unquote cramps. Hustles into the locker room. Jalen, you know what the internet thinks about this locker room visit. He says he's going in for cramps. He says he got an IV. Did he go to the locker room to poop in the middle of the game?
See, that run right there is double. Sometimes like a guy in the hood that's holding a heater and he keeping it really low. And then it's like, I really got a cramp. And then it's really like, I got bubble guts. Because he kind of dragging his right leg a little bit. I kind of believe him when he said it wasn't a version of my brother Paul Pierce when he came out. Because you can tell he was kind of favoring it a little bit. You know, like he may have had a cramp. He was kind of pulling that leg. So I agree with Lamar. But it was hilarious, some of the things the internet had to say about it.
Well, anyone that was watching the game and had Twitter open saw all the jokes and all the memes, one of which from his own teammate RG3 put out a meme insinuating that he used the bathroom during the game. So after the game, of course, he was asked about it. And as you hinted at, here was his hilarious response.
Just to clarify, you don't have to use the bathroom or anything in the back, right? You know, there's a lot of talk on social media that you were kind of like jogging, like you had to use the bathroom or something.
No, I was cramping. I ain't putting Paul Pierce. I didn't put Paul Pierce. I was cramping.
Why are we going after Paul Pierce in this moment? Like, you just won a big game on Monday night, and Paul Pierce at home watching the game, and now he sees that he's trending on Twitter. So, Jalen, you did see that look in his face. He was just like, what, me? What do you mean, me? Use the bathroom? Like, do you think there's a chance that he actually used the bathroom?
He probably did use the bathroom, but I also believe he was cramping. But how about this for the Browns? You still don't win this game. Like, we're going to talk a lot about Lamar going to and from the locker room, but the Browns were down 14 after Baker threw a pick, Jacoby. Okay? And it was great that he helped lead them back, and they had a couple of great drives. The final handful of minutes of that game was really exciting with teams going back and forth, throwing touchdown passes. However, It's almost like if the backup for the Ravens doesn't get injured, the Browns have a chance to win. But instead, he gets hurt. You put Lamar back in, and they lose.
So for those that don't know, RG3 was out injured. So they have this guy named Trace McSorley, who is the backup quarterback. He has to come in when Lamar goes back into the tunnel. McSorley does not look good under center, which is understandable, being a third-string quarterback. He gets hurt, so then all of a sudden, they don't have a quarterback. Like, they don't even have anybody to go to, so then Lamar hobbles out there, and then there is that 4th and 5 play that gives them the touchdown lead. And then, as you mentioned, Baker Mayfield needs to be saluted here because they were down a touchdown. 2 minutes left, 75 yards to go. And he looked great on that drive, had one really good throw to the sideline. He was also just giving it to Kareem Hunt and letting him run. And they ended up getting a touchdown. What do you think about Baker's performance moving forward as a playoff team when they get into those big games in the winter?
Well, he's growing as a player, and you've seen it in particular these last couple of weeks, whether they're up or down. He's deploying his weapons. You see him hit Hunt out of the backfield right there. How about my guy, Peoples-Jones from the University of Michigan out there making plays for them as well. So he's doing a really good job of understanding his weapons and getting them the football.
Absolutely, but there was that interception that you mentioned that was just backbreaking because there's the good Baker that we just showed you, and there's this bad Baker so close to his own end zone. I mean, like it's a bad throw and a bad idea in the first place. What do you think about that turnover and the way he turned it around afterwards?
I think if you're a Ravens fan, there's so many things you will take after this game and say, this is why we still own Cleveland. That's what you would say. Lamar goes in and out. Baker throws a pick late when you need it. You know, they do a drive. They have a chance to win. And then all of a sudden they basically do a drive. And then Tucker breaks their heart with a 50-plus yard field goal. But for, again, the Cleveland Browns, they clearly have outplayed most people's expectations. Baker has shown that he's gotten a lot better, in particular over these last couple of weeks.
Absolutely, and it was heartbreaking to watch that ball go through the uprights if you are a Cleveland Browns fan. But there was still some time left on the clock, and there were some hearts broken because in certain states where gambling is legal, the Browns got 3 points. They're down 3, and then this happens, the old lateral play that ends up in the back of the end zone, changing the score. So now the Browns are down 5. That must have been horrible to watch if you had money on the Browns, and great to see if you had money on the Ravens.
Did you say heartbreaking? If you say heartbreaking, I got you, dog. Don't it look like I'm about to put out an R&B album today?
It really does. We spent the first 10 minutes of the show before the show just talking about Jalen's look. He looked like an R&B artist from like 1998. You look like a S'mores. You look like a Three Musketeers bar. I don't know what's happening with your hair, but I look forward to discussing all of that on the podcast exclusive.
On this day in 1992, the Chronic was released. Straight R&B.
Right.
Straight R&B. Right. Straight R&B.
All right. James Harden is at practice. James Harden is scheduled to play in a game tonight. However, there are reports from our colleagues, Woj and Ramona, that he still wants to be traded and no longer be a Rocket. So, Jalen, you played in the NBA. What is this like when you're going into a season with this much uncertainty about whether or not an MVP level, scoring champ level player wants to be there or is going to be there when you start real games?
So the elephant in the room is always, as you mentioned, the MVP level player and what type of attitude, what type of performance you're going to get from him. And even being the highest paid player, there's a level of responsibility and professionalism that comes with that position, even if the player doesn't want to embrace it. So for James Harden, for him to be back in practice, it shows the organization, it shows the fan base that he's going to be a professional, even though he doesn't want to be there. But selfishly, I want to tell you, the other guys are worried about themselves. John Wall ain't played basketball in 2 years. He's so happy when he hits somebody with the hezzy with the ball in the right and go back to his left and finish at the hoop and feel like he's still able to make some plays. And Boogie Cousins doing pick and pops, knocking down three-point shots. He went to Golden State, didn't get a ring. Went to the Lakers, they got a ring, but he got injured. And he never got top dollar. Look at all of these people that's getting big-time contracts. This is a guy that was getting 25 and 10 easily in the game. And so both of those guys are looking to get their game back. Now, as a domino effect, it could affect the guys that James are closer to. Like Trevor Ariza just got traded there. You know, I'm pretty sure part of the reason is because of that relationship. Another guy, PJ Tucker. Is he going to play when James plays? Is he going to sit out when James sits out? Is he going to get traded when James gets traded? So these are some of the things that's going to hover over the squad. But I like how they've tried to rebuild from outside. You bring in Christian Woods, who was a really good signing also to play some minutes up front.
That's absolutely right. And Jalen, it is time for a segment that we haven't done for quite some time. It is time for cultural or regional.